Hello! So, Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Not the most popular game in the FNAF franchise. However, personally, I think that it's really good and deserves more recognition than it gets. However, this video will not be very positive. No, we will be critiquing FNAF 3. More precisely, we will be critiquing the horror of the game. As many of you know what? Not many. All of you know FNAF is a horror game, but FNAF 3 is a game that I feel didn't quite live up to the expectations of being a horror game. Those expectations being, that it's scary. Although I do think that FNAF 3 has creepy elements, it's not something like Gorton of Ban Ban. I really don't want to make a video about Ban Ban, but at this point, I think I have to. I will point out things that I thought were creepy. However, I still think that FNAF 3 definitely could have and should have been scarier. So in this video, I will attempt to figure out why the horror of the game doesn't work, at least certain aspects, and maybe offer some solutions on how I feel like these elements could have been improved. FNAF 3 does have creepy and scary elements. However, in this video, I want to focus on the elements that aren't scary, because overall, I don't think the game is that scary. But I will talk about some aspects that it does right. Like, I don't find this game scary, but I get why other people do. So let's begin. Like and subscribe. Oh boy, where do we start? Well, how about we begin with the bread and butter of the FNAF franchise, the jump scare. FNAF games are filled with the spooks. No FNAF game is complete without Freddy Fazbear screaming at you. So, how are the jump scares in this game? Meh, some of them are good, like Phantom Foxy, Phantom BB, and Phantom Freddy. These jump scares aren't anything spectacular, but they definitely get the job done. They are fine. However, there is one animatronic who really missed the mark, and that is unfortunately Springtrap. This sucks, because Springtrap has a really amazing design. It's a good mix of corpse and Spring Bonnie. You can just barely make out the body of William Afton inside, which is really creepy. Seeing these creepy holes and, well, body makes Springtrap really creepy because it's unnatural. If you think about it, a suit that slams sharp metal into you from every direction is absolutely terrifying. And Springtrap is the aftermath of that. Seeing the rotting suit full of mold, it's just creepy because it's unnatural. And the fact that Springtrap is alive, he is moving, it's uncanny valley, something that shouldn't move but does. And that makes it creepy. However, it's a FNAF game, so we have to have jump scares. And how are the Springtrap jump scares? They are terrible, both of them. Both are horrible. Both of them are Springtrap slowly getting closer to you, and that's it. The jumpscare sound also doesn't help. The jumpscare does not work because, well, it's just slow. You see Springtrap and he just sort of gets closer. The scary part of Springtrap for me, besides the fact that his design is creepy, is that he is sort of a human. Like, for example here, he tries hiding as if he was a real person, and that's creepy. From his behavior alone, you can tell that he's not a normal animatronic. A jump scare where he jumps out of nowhere and attacks you like a human would be very creepy in my opinion. However, no, all we get is Springtrap slowly getting closer. I'm gonna be honest, this jump scare sucks. However, thankfully, and I mean it, thankfully, it is not as bad as the one in Ultimate Custom Night. Look at I hate it. I hate this jump scare. It's just really dumb. Like, I'm sorry. No, this video isn't about Ultimate Custom Night. Okay, let's continue. The Springtrap jump scares are bad. And as I said before, I think a jump scare where Springtrap jumps out at you to attack, like a human would be really scary and would emphasize the fact that he is a human, that is trapped in a robotic suit. A human that shouldn't be moving, but yet he is. Having a jump scare that uses this would make it much more fitting in my opinion. And having the jump scare be fast and maybe have more of Springtrap's body, it would be better. Like, have him jump out at you from the corner and not just have him walk in and be like, whoa, hey. Like, no, it's not scary. Oh, and also, I quickly want to talk about the jump scare sound. The jump scare sound in this game is also mediocre. The jump scare sound in these first two games were these creepy screams that sounded sort of humanoid even. I know for a fact that the FNAF 1 jumpscare scream used a real human scream. These jumpscare screams are very high pitched. They are loud and they are also very quick, if that makes sense. These things lead to a jumpscare scream that is sure to catch players off guard. The scream fit the quick jumpscares that the game had. Foxy quickly jumps out at you, quick jumpscare scream fits. However, what does FNAF 3 have? All FNAF 3 has is this slow, honestly weird sounding jumpscare scream. Have a listen. I feel like this does not work. It's really slow and kind of deep. It is not good at catching players off guard. You don't get scared when you get a jump scare with that sound because, well, the sound isn't all that sudden. It really doesn't surprise the player because it's really just slow and underwhelming. I really don't think that the jump scare sound in this game lives up to the greatness of the jump scare sounds in FNAF 1 and 2. The mediocre jump scare sound paired up with the bad Springtrap jump scares just leads to something underwhelming. Come on, Scott, Springtrap deserves better than this. And especially this. You know what, I should really just make a video talking about Ultimate Custom Night jump scares. They are just on a whole other level. And I don't mean that as a compliment. Before we finish this segment, I also want to touch on some jump scares with the Phantom animatronics. Jump scares like Phantom Foxy and Chica are better, because they are more sudden and quicker, which has a greater chance of surprising the player. Freddy's jump scare is alright, nothing all that special. The BB jump scare also alright. I like how his mouth gets weirdly stretched. It's a cool detail that makes the jump scare more unnerving. Overall, the Phantoms, they didn't have any fantastic jump scares. The jump scares are fine, like they're not bad. They're definitely not the scariest jump scares of the franchise, but I especially wanted to talk about the Springtrap jump scares because, well, they are especially terrible. Now that we have the jump scares and jump scare sound out of the way, let's talk about another thing that gives the FNAF games their horror, that being the atmosphere. Some of you that watched my FNAF 1 video already know that I am a huge fan of the atmosphere in the first game. It's really creepy and eerie, it makes the whole pizzeria feel haunted. The atmosphere really fits and makes the player constantly feel on edge. Paired up with the creepy animatronics that seem lifeless on the cameras, this atmosphere is difficult to match, let alone top. FNAF 1 had an amazing atmosphere, which was creepy and added to the creepiness of the animatronics. What does FNAF 3 have? Not a good atmosphere at all. For some reason, the office is sort of this greenish color, and I get why it has this. However, I feel like it goes a little too far. I feel like this office is a little too bright. Personally, I think it would have made the atmosphere much creepier if the office was less bright. Take a look. I think that Springtrap looking at you through this window would be much scarier. I think Springtrap looking at you through this window would be more scary if all you saw was a slightly greenish darkness behind him, instead of this weird bright green wall. I think a darker office like this would really improve the atmosphere. It makes it much more creepier, and I feel like it leaves the player with a feeling of dread, a feeling of not knowing what lurks in the darkness. Having it be more similar to FNAF 1 in this way would make the player feel more of a sense of unnerve, like something might jump out at them at any second. The darkness would also help the Phantom animatronics blend in, which I feel would make them scarier, because what's worse than this thing lurking in the corner of your office? Well, it's of course this thing lurking in the corner of your office, but it's hard to see. I feel like an improved atmosphere in the office would go a long way in making the game creepier. I mean, you will be spending a lot of time in this office. Although the atmosphere in the cameras themselves is much better. I mean, I like that it's more dark, it has this vintage feel to it, and I really like the fact that Springtrap is hard to spot and hides in some of the cameras. It's a cool, neat detail, and I feel like it makes the game creepier, because you are sort of playing a cat and mouse game with Springtrap. I just wish that The Office implemented more of the atmosphere that the cameras give off. However, I do still think that the atmosphere in the cameras lacks something, and that something is, well, very hard to fix. What I liked in FNAF 1 is that the animatronics looked lifeless on the cameras, like they were supposed to. These lifeless robots slowly making their way closer to you. You not being able to see them move really emphasized that. They were machines that were supposed to just stand still, and they were not doing that, which is creepy. In FNAF 3, we have Springtrap, who acts more human, and although that's fine, I really miss that uncanny valley aspect. Seeing a giant robot that should be stationary just standing there, not being supposed to be there, supposed to be, well, dead, lifeless, and it instead making its way closer to you is very scary. and well, it's showing signs that it wants to kill you. It's the uncanny valley aspect that FNAF has, but unfortunately FNAF 3 lacks that, and I feel like it could have been fixed by having a new animatronic. No, not a phantom, a new animatronic. I think that would fix it, if the animatronic acted like the ones in FNAF 1. And no, the phantoms don't even come close to the creepiness factor that the FNAF 1 animatronics had, in my opinion. An animatronic that, just like the ones in FNAF 1, is supposed to be this lifeless machine, but instead it makes its way closer to your office. It looking sort of empty in the cameras would really emphasize that aspect, and you not being able to see it move would be where the uncanny valley aspect sort of comes in, because this thing that isn't humanoid for some reason shows humanoid behavior. That's why I think FNAF 1 was so scary. The animatronics had this uncanny valley aspect because even though they were lifeless machines, they expressed human behavior by, well, moving. So adding some sort of uncanny valley aspect to FNAF 3 would really improve the horror and the atmosphere. Plus, seeing this weird seemingly lifeless animatronic thing in the cameras, putting the cameras down, and having it look at you through the darkness of the office, that would be terrifying. And once again, uncanny valley. There's some more stuff like the minigames, but to be honest, I don't think we should talk about them. They are fine as is. Stuff like Phone Dude and the overall rest of the game is fine in my opinion. I am sorry that we didn't get through a lot in this video. I only really wanted to talk about the jump scares and the atmosphere, and I do apologize. However, I really wanted to dive deep into these two factors because this is where I feel most of the horror in FNAF 3 falls flat, and I also wanted to offer some solutions on how to fix these aspects. It's not that I think that FNAF 3 is a baby game or something, far from it. The game still has creepy elements, but I wanted to create a video that talks about the elements of horror in the game that could have been improved. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe. This was GameSpeaking, and goodbye.